So, yes, Hanuman, and now Hanuman is ready to jump, right? That's what we discussed yesterday in the English class. The monkeys got the information from Sampati, Garuda's younger brother, and he told them, he had the vision, he could see hundreds of yojanas, 800,000 miles away, and he could see in Lanka that Sita was there. He also heard from his son, who had an encounter with Ravan when he was stealing Sita away, that this Ravan was stealing one beautiful woman. And so anyway, now they're convinced that Sita is there in Lanka. So to bring the message of Sita, they decided who would jump, and it was who is qualified, who is capable of jumping from this end of the southernmost tip of India to Lanka. And it was decided that Hanuman is the most fit person to do that. And so Hanuman just went up on top of the Mahindra mountain, and he jumped from there. There's a beautiful description. When he jumped, like the thrust of his jump actually caused the Mahindra mountain shake. And a good part of the mountain also crumbled. And along with that, many trees were uprooted. And as Hanuman jumped, due to that thrust, the trees also flew following Hanuman. And then seeing that Hanuman was jumping to Lanka, ocean god decided to do something for Hanuman. He asked Mainak mountain. There's a mountain that used to fly. And Indra cut the wings of Mainak, and he fell into the ocean. So Mainak mountain is under the ocean. So Samudra Dev told Mainak to rise up and allow Hanuman to rest for a while there. But when Hanuman saw that the mountain was rising, he considered that it was an obstacle. So he just pushed the mountain with his chest. And then the Mainak personality appeared there in his human-like form and told him that Samudra Dev actually sent him for Hanuman to rest for a while. And Hanuman said, no, I don't have any time for resting. Anyway, since Samudra Dev sent you and you came to fulfill his order, so Hanuman touched the mountain with his hands and he continued. The sages and demigods were considering Hanuman is performing such an amazing feat. So let's taste Hanuman's prowess. So they call Surasa, the mother of the nagas. There's one type of snakes are sarpa, and there are bigger snakes are called nag. And so the mother of nags, demigods asked her that you assume the form of a gigantic Rakshashi and challenge Hanuman. And let us see how Hanuman deals with you. So, see, Surasha just came, like a terrible looking, gigantic Rakshashi. Hanuman expanded himself into a big form already to jump. But this Rakshasi came to swallow Hanuman. Hanuman expanded himself further. The Rakshasi expanded her mouth further open. Hanuman expanded himself further. This way it continued for some time. She was expanding her mouth and Hanuman was expanding his body. Then finally Hanuman shrank himself into a small form, entered into her mouth and came out. So actually she appeared to Hanuman and told that I have the benediction from Brahma that whoever comes in front of me, I swallow him, enters in my mouth. So, and then she started to try to swallow Hanuman, and Hanuman was expanding and the competition going on. Then finally Hanuman shrank himself into small form, entered into her huge mouth and just came out quickly from there. And she said, okay, he said, okay, I fulfill your condition. I entered into your mouth and now please let me go. Then Shurasha assumed her demigoddess form. She is the daughter of Daksha, and she told Hanuman that I am so impressed with your ability and intelligence. I bless you that the mission that you are going in for, it will be successful. And so in this way, she blessed Hanuman. And then Hanuman was flying across the sky over the ocean. And then all of a sudden Hanuman felt that he can't move, as if he lost all his energy. And he was wondering, have I become so tired that I can't move anymore? And then he noticed that there was a Rakshasi below. So this was a Rakshasi called Singhika. So Singhika had the ability to catch a creature by his shadow. She would catch the shadow and the person will be caught. And this is how she used to eat. So she caught Hanuman. And Hanuman couldn't move. So recognizing the difficulty that the Rakshasi was there, so Hanuman shrank his size and entered into her body. And entering into her body, Hanuman with his nails just tore her heart into pieces. In this way he just killed her and then tore open her body and came out. And again, assuming his original form or gigantic form, he started to fly. Then he came to Lanka. So Hanuman just saw the grandeur of Lanka. It's a beautiful city with palaces, 7-story, 8-story, huge palaces, decorated with gold and precious jewels, and all the Rakshasas, they're guarding different weak points. The gates are guarded, there are drawbridges across the channel, the moats, and so Hanuman thought that he would wait till night and enter into the city. So he stayed out of Lanka till the sunset, and then at nightfall, Hanuman assumed a small form like a small monkey, and he jumped across the wall and entered into the city of Lanka. And then he was confronted by a terrible Rakshasi. That Rakshasi asked, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" Then Hanuman said, "First you tell me, who are you? Then I'll tell you who I am and why I came here." So she said that I am Lanka personified, the presiding deity of this city. And Hanuman said, and she said that nobody can come here without my permission. Hanuman said, I just came here, I heard about this place so much, so I thought of seeing the place. Then she said, no, you can't come. Hanuman said, no, I'm not going to listen to you. Who are you to stop me? So this Rakshashi became so angry that with her left hand she smacked Hanuman. And Hanuman became so angry, he roared, and with his left hand he punched her. But he didn't punch her very strongly because she was a woman after all. And the Lanka personified just fell on the ground, injured, crying. Then she said, long time ago, Brahma told me that when a monkey will overpower you, then you realize that that's the time when the whole city will be destroyed and all the Rakshasas will die. So he said, now I realize that now the time has come when the city of Lanka will be destroyed and all the Rakshasas will die. So anyway, please feel free to go wherever you want. I'm not going to obstruct you. So then Hanuman happily started to roam around searching for Sita. Then eventually he came to Ravan's palace. I mean, all these buildings were so gorgeous, and this was kind of incomparable to all those buildings, right in the middle of the city. It's a huge palace beyond anyone's imagination. And it was guarded by many thousands Rakshasa soldiers. So Hanuman just sneaked and came inside, jumping onto the walls. And he started to look, and he was seeing that there are, and when he came into the inner part of the house, and then he saw that so many women, after having the festivity and enjoyment through the night, drinking, they all are fast asleep. Then Hanuman came across the Pushpak chariot of Ravan. So Hanuman climbed up onto the chariot to get a better look of the situation there. Then he saw that so many beautiful women fast asleep, and then in a gorgeous looking bed, Ravan is sleeping. He had one head and 2 arms. Generally he used to assume 10 arms only at the time of battle. And he was a very handsome person and powerful body, and the body is bearing the marks of different injuries that he was inflicted upon him by thunder and Airavat, and those sign of injuries were actually looking like ornaments in his heroic body. And then near to that, in another bed, he saw another woman, and her beauty was incomparable. Like all the other beauties were completely faded out. Although she was fast asleep, her beauty was shining forth. So Hanuman thought he found Sita finally. This must be Sita. So Hanuman was jumping with joy, clapping his hand, slapping his thigh, and kissing his tail. Monkeys, when they're happy, they do that. Kiss their tail. And then Hanuman realized, no, Sita will never be in that situation. Sita will never surrender to anybody like a demon like Ravan. And in the separation of Ram, Sita won't be enjoying the association of others like this. So little dejected, Hanuman just left the palace of Ravan. And he was looking everywhere. Finally he came to a beautiful garden in front of a huge temple. So he was, and there he saw underneath a tree, Sita, there's a woman. She is lamenting with looking so sad and morose. And she was surrounded by many Rakshashis who were guarding her. And Hanuman realized that this is Sita. So still he kept on looking at the situation from hiding himself on top of a tree. And then he saw Ravan coming. And it was in the morning. So he saw Ravan coming, followed by 100 beautiful women carrying, waving chamar and lamp and fans and playing music. And Ravan was accompanied by two beautiful ladies. One of them was the one that he saw the night before on the bed. That was Mandodari, Ravan's chief wife, and Ravan's youngest consort. Flanked by those two personalities, Ravan came to Sita. And when Sita saw Ravan coming, she placed kusha grass. She didn't have any possibility to create a partition to separate herself from him. So, but in a subtle way, she created a partition, just like putting the kusha grass. She didn't want to directly deal with Ravan. So Ravan started to woo her, saying all kinds of enticing, provoking propositions. Why are you letting your beauty and your youth go unattended like this? Like, become my consort. Surrender to me. I am the most powerful person in the world. I have defeated the demigods. I can get anything and anybody if I want. So you will become my chief queen. And in this way Ravan was wooing to her. And then Sita just turned around with her back towards Ravan, and she started to tell him that you are the most wretched creature in this world. You are the most coward person in the world. You are the most sinful person in the world. You didn't have the courage to confront Ram, and that's why you had to steal me in his absence. And Ram will come and kill you and rescue me. It's only a matter of time. And the way you have been acting sinfully, the way you have behaving, you are accruing so much sin, and those sin is going to be the cause of your destruction along with your whole family. Ravan became so angry, and he started to shout at her that I just gave you 1 year to decide. 10 months already went by. There's only 2 months left. And within this time, if you don't surrender to me, I will cut you into pieces and eat you up for breakfast. So at that time, Mandodari consoled Ravan. He said that, my lord, why are you just getting so upset about this particular woman? You have so many women to enjoy. So why are you so adamant about her? So please come, my lord. So then Ravan instructed all the Rakshashis. By any means, by inflicting fear on her, by cajoling her, by enticing her, by any means, you make her change her mind. So saying that, Ravan just left. And at that time, different Rakshashis were started to become very frightening and inflicting fear to Sita, saying all kinds of things. that they are going to kill her, they are going to eat her up. And so at that time there was a Rakshasi called Trijata. She was very pious and she was friendly to Sita. So Trijata said that you all stop doing that. You know, I had a dream. So they all became excited. Oh, you had a dream? What did you see? He said, in my dream, I saw Ram and Lakshman dressed in beautiful white dress, riding on a white chariot that was drawn by 1,000 white horses. And they came and took Sita in the chariot and then they drove away. And then I saw in a dream that Ravan, his body emaciated, ugly, there are rings around his eyes, his face sunken, his hair disheveled, and his clothes torn. And he was riding on a chariot, driven by the donkeys. And Ravan was screaming and laughing like a madman. Sometimes laughing, sometimes crying. And in this way, Ravan was sliding down, going down in the chariot. So it's only a matter of time that Ram will come and rescue Sita. And from the dream it seems that Ravan's end is coming. So, and then Hanuman was now convinced that this is Sita, so he assumed a small form of a monkey and went close to Sita, hiding from others, and he started to sing a song glorifying Lord Ram. Sita could not see. Sita was delighted to hear this glorification of Ram, but she could not see anyone. So then finally Hanuman came in front of her, unseen by others, and told Sita that he is coming from Ram. So when Sita saw this monkey in that way, she first thought that maybe it's one of the Rakshasas conjuring some magic trick. But then Hanuman showed her the ring that Ram gave him. Yeah, Ram actually blessed Hanuman. Ram actually felt that Hanuman is the one who will bring the news of Sita to him. So he gave him a ring and said that when you meet Sita, show this, and to prove to her that you are coming from me. So when Hanuman showed that ring, then Sita could trust him. Then Hanuman said that, look, I can carry you back to Ram. So Sita laughed. He said, such a small monkey, how are you going to carry me? Then Hanuman was offended. His pride hurt. So he showed his huge form. Then Sita said, okay, now I can see that you are able to carry me. But the thing is that when you're flying across the ocean, what if I fall off your back? And besides that, when you're running away with me on your back, then all these Rakshasas will attack you. So at that time, will you be carrying me, protecting me, or you'll be fighting with the Rakshasas? So I don't appreciate that proposal. And besides that, apart from Ram, I don't touch any man. Ravan, of course, kidnapped me, and that time I was unable to resist it. But otherwise, no man ever touched me. And so then Hanuman said, okay, so let me just carry your message to Ram. So give me some token that I can show to Ram. that I can convince that I have actually met you. Then Sita said, tell Ram about this incident. When after bathing in the Ganges, one day he came and placing his head on my lap, he was resting. At that time, one crow came and pecked on my breast. And when the blood came out from that wound and fell on Ram, Ram woke up. He asked who did it. But then only he noticed that this crow, his claws are stained with blood. So he could recognize that it was the doing of that crow. So Ram took a grass, blade of kusha grass, and chanting mantra, turned it into a brahmastra and released it. And the crow, out of fear, ran. This crow was actually Indra's son in disguise. And so he was going everywhere in the universe trying to escape from that brahmastra. Even Indra could not protect him. So finally he came to Ram, fell at his feet and begged forgiveness. So Ram said, fine, I forgive you now that you surrendered to me. But since I released the brahmastra, it must hit some target. So I am not going to take your life, but this astra will take away one of your eyes. So that is how Indra's son became blinded by one eye. So Sita said, just for a crow, when a crow acted like that, you took such an action. And now against Ravan, you are not doing anything. Is it that you don't love me anymore? Is it that I don't mean anything to you? Then Hanuman consoled her, no, Ram is constantly lamenting due to your separation. You do not know the condition that he is in. He was just waiting to find out where you are, and now that I am going to carry the message, Ram will positively come and rescue you. And then he said, please give me a token that I can show to Ram. So then Shruta pulled out a beautiful jewel, gave it to Hanuman, and said that, give it to Ram. He'll recognize, this is the jewel that my mother gave me at the time of our wedding. So then Hanuman decided to leave. But before leaving, he decided to see the strength of the Rakshasas. So he started to plunder, destroy the garden, Ashoka garden. And he uprooted all the trees, he destroyed all the flowering plants, and everything he destroyed. So this Rakshasi, some of them ran to Ravan and told that a monkey is doing all that. So Ravan immediately sent 80,000 soldiers, Rakshasas, to capture this monkey. And so I'll stop now. Thank you all very much. All glories to Sita, Ram, Lakshman, Hanuman ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari.